This fly is a slider. So I've been playing with different versions of sliders lately, and this one was really cool. I actually do a complex loop bugger for the body of this fly, and then the head is a mixture of deer hair and bruiser blend. Yeah, it actually turns out really cool. Alright, I'm going to start out with just white uni 6/0 thread. And I'm going to tie some barbell eyes onto it. These barbell eyes are 4.8 millimeter, just brass barbell eyes. And I want to leave a little bit of room in the front here because I'm going to tie in a weed guard. And because this fly is going to ride inverted, the color of marabou that I want to be on top, I'm going to tie in first, so it's going to be on the bottom right here. So you got some medium brown marabou, and I'm just going to cut off or pull off a pretty healthy chunk of it. And I'll tie that in. And then I have some, this is actually a cream colored. I think the Spirit River color is light Cahill. But I'm going to make the bottom of the fly out of this. And because these plumes are a little bit longer, I will go up the hook shank with them. Sometimes you don't have a choice. Okay, now I'm going to just create a complex twist style body with some gold UV Palmer chenille, or not Palmer, Polar chenille, some brown schlappen, fiery brown schlappen, and the silver and gold holographic cactus chenille. And when you take a piece of schlappen, I want a really big full piece. You can see I have some missing in this one. That's not going to matter at all once I twist it up. Tie it in by the tip. Okay, now I'm going to take the schlappen, cactus chenille, polar chenille, and stack it all up real nice. Then I'm going to take my trusty gator grips and grab those all together, and then take my dubbing twisting tool and hook that into my gator grip. Twist it all up. Now sometimes when you're doing this, your schlappen's not going to cooperate with you, so you kind of have to brush it out after a few wraps. There we go, it's nice and dispersed, but that's the complex loop style body. And then before I wrap that, I'm going to take my dubbing twister tool out and just hang on to the gator grips. And every couple wraps I'm going to preen it back just to kind of keep stuff out of the way. And I need a nice little base right behind those eyes to tie stuff in. So that's about as far up as I'm going to go. Okay, at this point, I'm going to tie in some deer hair. Well, first of all, brush this out. You can fish that just like that and it would be fine. But because I'm using deer hair, I'm going to tie in some GSP thread. Now this is the Vivus 100 denier GSP. And a lot of times when you're switching from one thread to another, if you just like if this thread's right behind those eyes, I'm just going to tie this in behind the eyes and then wrap back, and then so that's now secure and I can cut it off. And this GSP is tough. Alright, so now we're going to tie in the top part of this head with deer hair. And you know, if you're going to get into tying with deer hair, this fly is actually a really good way to go about it, because you really only need to tie in one clump of deer hair and you're done. We're going to kind of make this fancy. We're going to put 2 clumps of deer hair in and make kind of a two-tone head. But the cool thing about it is these eyes will keep your deer hair right where it needs to be. It's not going to try to go forward. You don't need a packing tool or anything like that. Okay, so I've got brown deer belly hair, and you can see I've been playing with this clump. Deer belly hair is the best for making these really tightly packed deer hair style heads. Now, you need to use really big clumps of hair, and so we've got these, this is a pretty big diameter hair stacker. I like this raw aluminum one because there's not a lot of static that gets in it. Okay, now I've cut off a really healthy chunk of deer hair. I mean, it's probably, big as round as my finger. The key to this now to get your hair heads to be really clean is you got to clean out all the underfur, and the best way to do that is to use one of these little metal combs. So you can see that all the underfur plus any short fibers that are going to impede this head are going to come right out. Alright, so if I've done this right, my hair tips are pretty much evened up. And where I'm going to tie this in is I'm going to make these tips go a little bit past the point of the hook. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of lay those where I want them to be, and take my thread and make a loose wrap, and then make one more wrap. And this is critical. I'm not going to let go of the hair, and I'm going to pull it straight down. Okay. Now if I did that right, that's going to be pretty secure, and there shouldn't be much deer hair on the bottom. So you see on the bottom, all that bare hook shank is still there, ready to tie something else in. I could tie in another clump of deer hair under here, but I found that bruiser blend really makes a cool looking slider. Another thing is, you can see how there's still a little bit of a gap right here, and that's critical because if you want to do anything two-tone, you want to be able to lay something down right here, right in the middle of your tips and the butts. So we're going to make a two-tone head here. We're just going to take a piece of tan deer hair. This is normal run-of-the-mill natural colored deer hair. Okay, I've stacked that clump, and I'm going to lay that in right on top of the hook shank, right in line with my other clump. Kind of wiggle my thread to get it right on top of that deer hair. One loose wrap, one tight wrap, pull it straight down. And if you pull too hard, this GSP will cut through this deer hair, so you got to be really careful about that. Now I'm going to turn the fly back upside down, or right side up, because now my vise is right side up. I'm going to wiggle my deer hair to the barbell eyes right here, and I'm going to come under my barbell eyes to right here so that my thread's right behind my barbell eyes. And this is where I'm going to tie in the bruiser blend. So in order for that thread to hang right where it needs to be, I rotate my vise and hang it like that. Sorry for you non-rotary guys. Now for the length to be right, I'm using Bruiser Blend Junior in the tan color. Now tan is a new color that we have for this Bruiser Blend, and it's one that has been requested by a lot of you saltwater guys, so we finally got on the ball and blended up for you. So I'm just going to stack up some pieces. Grab your thread when you rotate your vise up, and I'm going to just put that bruiser blend in right here. When I tie that, I'm only going to go over to the next barbell eye, tie it under that barbell eye, but not around the hook shank. Now in front of the barbell eyes, and do that one more time. That way you're not binding down any deer hair on the top of the fly, and now I've got that tied in right in place. Now I'm going to take my thread under the barbell eyes again, so that now I can come up here in the front and whip finish my fly. Now, because we only did 2 wraps of thread around the bruiser blend, it's important to add a little bit of super glue there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just some of this really thin super glue and dab it right between those eyes, and that will seep down where the bruiser blend is. And it will hold that in place. Now comes the moment of truth. I'm going to take this fly out and flip it around. I'm going to make sure that my deer hair is sitting right where I want it to before I trim it. And before I trim, also I'm going to take my comb and kind of comb it out, so any fibers that may have gotten bent over under there are going to be facing out from the hook shanks for when we cut it. Now the key here is to not mess with scissors quite yet on this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a double-sided razor blade, because you can take those and bend them. Let's see. Stuff like that. And I'm going to take that and come in here with the razor blade. Make sure I got the angle that I want. And I'm going to trim that hair. So you kind of make one cut and pull out of there and find out where you need to improve it. I'm going to go a little bit closer to those eyes now. And I'm going to keep the same curvature, rotate my vise, and do the same cut over here. Just kind of keep cutting away until I'm happy with how the head looks. Now if you need to, you come in here with some scissors and clip away any stragglers. Okay, now to finish up the fly, I'm just going to tie in some 25-pound monofilament that I've bent in a V shape. And now if you tie that in with it hanging over the front of the hook a little bit, just with a few loose wraps, you can kind of position it in place, and you'll be able to really secure it down. We'll tie off the head and then just finish it with some flow. Final step is to trim it off, and you want to trim those so that they're, above your hook point. Just like that. There you go. Take Mr. Slider out and fish him.